Hey, this is Nanda Sundaresan, and this is just my HCDE 313 course reflection for my user research class that I took in spring 2019. This class was really enjoyable, and it consisted of three sections that I just named Foundations, Expanding Research, and Confirming Research. And each of these sections include a different research process that we learned in class, and that's what I'll be covering in this presentation. So, like I said, the first section of my class included foundations, which included choosing a research topic, doing some field research with my field study plan, and then conducting some qualitative data analysis using my field study report. So choosing my research question was a little bit of an iterative process. So we were essentially given a list of topics to choose from. And the initial design question was, how do you make the waiting time of the hub dining line more productive? And I thought that we need to give this question some scope because I wanted my question to be unique from other people deciding to take this route for the design question, and I wanted it to be easier to handle in a quarter's research. So my revised design question was, how do you make the waiting time of the hub Starbucks dining line more productive? So by focusing on the hub Starbucks, I gave my design question some scope, and each of these underlying aspects were defined to make my intent clear. So the purpose of this section, I thought, was just to get general insights about common behaviors of my user base and kind of providing a foundation for further research. So my field study plan just involved answering like the who, what, when, where, why of my entire design or like research process. And then I had to define the terms of my research question and then kind of explain how I'm going to choose my participants, give some session logic and data collection methods. So just kind of saying this is how I'm going to do my research and this is my plan. So when I actually had to conduct my field study, I gained some experience with detailed note-taking in an immersive environment, and then my analysis method involved like affinity diagramming, different ways of categorization of the notes that I took, and then some transcription of my written notes that I did during my observation study sessions. So then I went into my field study report, and it's the biggest report that we wrote this quarter. It basically covered results from our field study, but in addition to just revising our field study plan, we outlined 3 key results and then 3 design suggestions. And these key results were based on evidence from my observation notes, and then the design suggestions each related to 1 key result. And what was important about this section was that I had to acknowledge the limitations and outline a plan for moving forward, since this was like the foundational report to the rest of the research we do this quarter. So the outcome of this that I got was that it summarized field study observations and set the stage for the next phase of research. So the next phase of the class was expanding research, and this was when we conducted our interviews. So building off the field study, we did an interview plan, and then using data analysis, we did our interview top-line report. The purpose of this section was just to get rationales behind common user behaviors and get some experience doing semi-structured interviews. The interview plan kind of outlined how we were going to use our field study insights to gain additional, expand our research even further. So using these field study results, we had to redefine our design question. So I decided to focus on the layout instead. And then we outlined some questions that we were going to ask in our interview, and then follow-up questions so that I could use it in my semi-structured interviews to make sure that I don't lose focus. And then I also outlined my methods, participants, and data collection similar to my field study plan. Conducting the interviews and data analysis, it was basically semi-structured interviews, so very conversational with the guiding questions that I outlined in my field study plan. My data analysis included some transcription of the raw audio from my interviews, thematic analysis and affinity diagram, and just different ways of categorization. And then my interview top-line report basically combined all of this information into, again, 3 key results and 3 recommendations. These key results and recommendations actually built off of my field study results. And then, so basically I would say this interview session or section of the class gave me insights into personal customer experiences and gave me a starting point for further analysis. For the confirming research section, it was our survey section, and basically we did some survey questions and then learned how to do quantitative data analysis with some survey presentations. And the purpose of this section was essentially to get aggregated user opinions and then just generalized information in general. The survey plan, so through the quarter we had this format of doing a plan and then our report. So again, this plan was just saying this is how I'm going to do my survey, and then redefining some research questions based off of my interview and field study results, and then gave some insight on how we were going to deploy the survey and what questions we were going to have. This section also taught us about quantitative data analysis and graphing, and basically choosing strategic questions on what goals we wanted to get out of it, so like what kind of questions we wanted to answer. And then we learned how to use different kinds of graphs to get different kinds of insights from raw survey data. And the survey presentation was basically a 10-minute presentation outlining our graphs and results. Took raw survey data and then, again, presented 3 key results. And then it either confirmed or denied previous findings because this did have a larger user group. And I also provided design recommendations. And in this case, we had to take into account bias because I did have to only survey 15 people, which is like a small sample size. And so I had to acknowledge that as well. So the outcome of this was that I got generalized insights about the hub Starbucks from a wide variety of people. So in summary, we had foundations, expanding research, and confirming research, starting with the field studies, then interviews, then surveys, and then we ended with a well-defined design scope, and then recommendations based off of numerous phases of research. So overall, I thought this class was super interesting and informative. That taught me a lot about user research techniques. Although I do understand that there's more to user research than that was covered in this class, what I learned was very helpful in kind of seeing what goes on in industry and industry methods. And then to add on to that, the industry speakers that came in, I enjoyed hearing about how user research presents itself in, I guess, what we could call like the real world. And then I also thought that this class was a good foundation to user experience careers. So overall, I had a really great time in this course, and I thank all of the instructors and the professor for taking their time to teach us this information, and just want to say thank you. Had a great quarter.